One of the things that I've heard as well is that a lot of people are saying, well, we have a convicted felon about to take office. Why are y'all making noise about Joe Biden's decision to save his son? So what's the big deal here? Well, I'm not comparing Joe Biden to Donald Trump. I'm comparing Joe Biden to the rest of us, to the people who he looked directly into the barrel of a camera and said, no one is above the law. I'm not pardoning my son. End of story. I believe in the rule of law. I believe in the judicial system, even though that guy over there doesn't believe in it. Even though that guy doesn't believe in democracy, even though that guy. Okay. So you put yourself on a pedestal as having some sort of moral superiority to that guy. So I'm going to hold you to a higher standard when you say, this is what I'm going to do, and I've spoken, and that's the end of it. And then you come back and you say, oh, over the weekend, I changed my mind. When he saw that Kamala Harris lost to Donald Trump, I don't think it was a weeks-long process where he started to think about this. I think he started to say, look, my own party has pushed me out of running for president. They put my subordinate in my stead. She lost to a guy who I don't have the greatest faith in. I'm already pissed off about what this party has done to me. I'm old. I'm not who I was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and I'm not going to lose another child. Well, President Joe Biden is in the final stretch of his term in the White House, and so naturally he is tying up some loose ends. And one of those loose ends that he now infamously tied up is to give a full and unconditional pardon to his 54-year-old son, Hunter Biden. Now, this decision is not going over well with a lot of people, and I'm not just talking about individuals on the right, but even people in the Democratic Party who are really miffed that he would do this in his final stretch.
Our justice system has endured for nearly 250 years. And it literally is the cornerstone of America, our justice system. The justice system should be respected, and we should never allow anyone to tear it down.
Now, for those of you who have not been following this story, you don't know anything about Hunter Biden or what he was convicted of. He was convicted on federal gun and tax charges, including 3 illegal gun possession charges in Delaware and 9 tax offenses in California. Just to give you a little bit of context here, presidential pardons are a very lengthy process. People wait for many, many years to get pardoned by the president of the United States. And sometimes they don't get it in that president's term. So even if the government changes hands, their pardon is still on the books. And so they're waiting for a president to pardon them. So it doesn't really happen overnight. But in Hunter Biden's case, it happened over the weekend. Now, just to give a little bit of perspective about pardons, they're basically irrevocable. So the incoming president, Donald Trump, couldn't really overturn it. And not that I know of. I don't know if some constitutional scholar out there can find some sort of loophole, but most people will say it's irrevocable. There's no turning it back. And I think a lot of people are really miffed. And I'm being very nice when I say miffed, because I think people are pissed that Biden would do this on his way out. It's just making the Democratic Party look really bad. People have said that he stood there on stage several times or in interviews and he lied to the American public, saying that he would not pardon his son for his crimes.
With regard to the question regarding the family, I'm extremely proud of my son Hunter. He has overcome an addiction. He's one of the brightest, most decent men I know, and I am satisfied that I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision, and I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
And I don't think for a second that he never had that in the back of his mind, that if he had to, he would do so. So let me read this from Newsweek. It says, in June, Hunter Biden was found guilty of 3 felony charges, but he has now been granted a full and unconditional pardon by his father, covering all potential offenses committed from January 1st, 2014 to December 1st, 2024. That is incredibly broad, ladies and gentlemen. Incredibly broad. You're talking about a decade worth of potential crimes that his father has just wiped the slate clean about. And so people are like, why is this so broad? We haven't seen this since President Nixon was in office. Why so broad? What other crimes did he commit? Is this to cover every single thing? It's like a blanket pardon. And so a lot of folks in the Democratic Party are really upset about this. And I'm going to just toss it so you can hear a few comments.
Democratic Governor Jared Polis, first out of the gate with criticism in Colorado, saying that Biden, quote, put his family ahead of the country. Polis wrote, this is a bad precedent that could be abused by later presidents and will sadly tarnish his reputation. Then came Democratic Senator Michael Bennet, who said that Biden, quote, put personal interest ahead of duty and further erodes Americans' faith that the justice system is fair and equal for all. Democratic Representative Jason Crow of Aurora called the pardon a mistake, writing, quote, presidents hold enormous power and responsibility and must be held to a higher standard.
Now, I honestly believe that even if he hadn't pardoned him, but he won the election when he was the candidate for the Democratic Party, that Hunter Biden would have gotten preferential treatment in some way, shape, or form. There's no way that daddy is going to be the president of the United States, the superpower, and the son is going to be languishing in a jail somewhere like the rest of us. No. And I think he probably had some hope that even if after he had to step down as the candidate and Kamala Harris was now the candidate, that she would have probably given him some favor.
We did it, Joe.
Either she would have pardoned him and then he could have said, listen, I didn't pardon him, as if he wouldn't have had any influence, or she could have made it so that he didn't get the full languishing treatment in jail like other people like you and me would get if we had committed similar offenses. But when he saw that Kamala Harris lost to Donald Trump, I don't think it was a weeks-long process where he started to think about this. I think he started to say, look, my own party has pushed me out of running for president. They put my subordinate in my stead. She lost. She lost to a guy who I don't have the greatest faith in. I'm already pissed off about what this party has done to me. I'm old. I'm not who I was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and I'm not going to lose another child. Joe Biden, I think this month marks the 52nd or 54th anniversary of his first wife and child being killed in a car crash. His son, Beau, who was seen as sort of the blue-eyed boy, passed away from brain cancer. And so now he has other kids, but, and now he has his son, Hunter, who I don't understand why people treat this man who is 54 like some sort of at-risk youth, but that's his son nonetheless. And he's like, I'm not about to lose my boy or let him go to jail for this. I don't agree with that, right? I don't agree with that, but it's not my kid. And a lot of people say a lot of things, but when it's their child, it's a completely different story. I think for Joe Biden, all of that came into play. You've already pushed me out. You don't care about me and my family. I'm not going to leave it up to Donald Trump or whomever to punish my son. I'm going to just fix the situation. And I think had he from the beginning said it's not off the table, and just face the music back then, people wouldn't have been so upset. But to continuously say, no, I'm not going to pardon him. I believe in the judicial system. The rule of the law is the rule of the law. No one is above the law, and it is what it is. And then to come back and say, on the weekend I decided. No, you didn't decide this on the weekend, sir. This was always in your mind as far as I'm concerned. Let me read something that I read. Was it on CNN? Let me find it. Oh, yes, it was CNN I was reading. And the headline says, Democrats left fuming over Biden's decision to pardon his son after he repeatedly said he wouldn't. And I want to read something that they quoted an individual. Let me read this real quick. It says, multiple officials who recently worked for Joe Biden said they never believed the president or White House aides speaking on his behalf when they insisted in recent months that a pardon for Hunter Biden was off the table. Anyone, this is the direct quote, anyone who was even close to the top knew that he was probably going to do this. Why did we pretend otherwise? A former senior West Wing aide said. A different former senior White House official said they and others around them had felt certain the president would have ultimately pardoned his son, while another ex-administration official put it this way, quote, it was extremely painfully obvious that this was where things would end up. They say not only did Joe Biden know this, but his aides knew too. Now, Corinne Jean-Pierre, I don't know if she knew. They're saying everybody knew. I don't know if she knew because she certainly spent a great deal of time when talking to the press corps during their briefings saying he is not pardoning the son. She even started to get irritated because it was like, he's not pardoning. We've already addressed this. How many times do we have to keep addressing the same thing? He's not pardoning his son. He's not pardoning his son. Almost like, let's move on. So just take a listen.
His son, Hunter, is also up for being sentenced next month. Does the president have any intention of pardoning him?
We've been asked that question multiple times. Our answer stands, which is no.
Is a commutation also still off the table?
For who are you talking about?
Oh.
No. No, I mean, that's not what we're going to do.
From a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Well,
I just said no. I just answered. Go ahead. Go ahead.
How embarrassing is this for her? Let's just give her the benefit of the doubt and say that she did not know. That Joe Biden said, listen, I am not doing this. I'm not pardoning my son. End of story. I don't know why they keep asking you this question, but just tell him no, no, no. That's the answer. And she did that, and she was convinced, and she went before the press corps and she did that. And now she has to, and I think they've already asked her and they've been grilling her like, you said. How embarrassing. Just to wake up with that egg on your face. I'd be so, if I were Corinne and I were walking inside of the White House, I'd be so pissed.
Oh, you motherfuckers. Okay, all right. I'm putting cases on all you bitches.
At all of them. And now people are starting to question so many other things. Like, remember when there was cocaine found inside of the White House and they said, oh, we don't know whose cocaine it is. We don't know where it came from. And I always thought that was just total BS. I know someone who worked at the White House and she was like, well, it is possible. I was like, no, I don't see it. I don't care. Yes, things are possible. Anything is possible, but I don't see it. The amount of security you have to go through. I mean, sure, they might not have dogs there. I don't know. I've never been to the White House, dogs sniffing to see if you've got cocaine. But to me, it either came from the family or it came from a staff inside there or somebody who is Secret Service. It had to have come from someone. The cocaine didn't just plant itself there. And I remember when that story came out and it made me think, well, if cocaine could be put inside the White House and y'all don't know where it came from, it makes me think that a bomb could be put inside the White House and you wouldn't know where it came from. Anything, a camera could be put inside the White House and you wouldn't know where it came from. So to me, stop it. Just stop lying. I'm not an idiot. One of the things that I've heard as well is that a lot of people are saying, well, we have a convicted felon about to take office. Why are y'all making noise about Joe Biden's decision to save his son? So what's the big deal here? Well, I'm not comparing Joe Biden to Donald Trump. I'm comparing Joe Biden to the rest of us, to the people who he looked directly into the barrel of a camera and said, no one is above the law. I'm not pardoning my son. End of story. I believe in the rule of law. I believe in the judicial system, even though that guy over there doesn't believe in it. Even though that guy doesn't believe in democracy, even though that guy. Okay. So you put yourself on a pedestal as having some sort of moral superiority to that guy. So I'm going to hold you to a higher standard when you say, this is what I'm going to do. And I've spoken and that's the end of it. And then you come back and you say, oh, over the weekend, I changed my mind. And this is the reason why, because I don't believe in this system. And let me read this because I don't want to paraphrase anything. I want to read his words exactly. It says, today I signed a pardon for my son, Hunter. From the day I took office, I said I would not interfere with the Justice Department's decision making. And I kept my word even as I have watched my son being selectively and unfairly prosecuted. Without aggravating factors like use in a crime, multiple purchases, or buying a weapon as a straw purchaser, people are almost never brought to trial on felony charges solely for how they filled out a gun form. Those who were late paying their taxes because of serious addictions but paid them back subsequently with interest and penalties are typically given non-criminal resolutions. That's true. It is clear that Hunter was treated differently. The charges in his cases came about only after several of my political opponents in Congress instigated them to attack me and oppose my election. I mean, there were people who said that the Democrats and Biden weaponized the judicial system to go after Trump. Just saying. Then a carefully negotiated plea deal agreed to by the Department of Justice unraveled in the courtroom, with a number of my political opponents in Congress taking credit for bringing political pressure on the process. Had the plea deal held, it would have been a fair, reasonable resolution of Hunter's cases. No reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter's cases can reach any other conclusion than Hunter was singled out only because he is my son, and that is wrong. There has been an effort to break Hunter, who has been 5.5 years sober, even in the face of unrelenting attacks and selective prosecution. In trying to break Hunter, they've tried to break me, and there's no reason to believe it will stop here. Enough is enough. For my entire career, I have followed a simple principle: just tell the American people the truth. Why would he put that line in there? I guess he's saying I told the truth, but I changed my mind. I don't believe it. They'll be fair-minded. Here's the truth. I believe in the justice system. No, you don't. But as I have wrestled with this, I also believe raw politics has infected the process and it led to a miscarriage of justice. And once I made this decision this weekend, there was no sense in delaying it further. I hope Americans will understand why a father and a president would come to this decision. Unfortunately, a lot of people do not understand that. You're not just a father. You are the president of the United States for the next few weeks. And you lied to the American people when you said that you had no intention whatsoever. What you should have said is, it's not off the table. You should have said that from the jump. It is not off the table. At the end of the day, this is my kid, and dealt with the fallout from that. But and he knew that it would have been seen as hypocritical. He knew that. He knew what his political opponents would have said. So he continued along this narrative of, no, I won't pardon my son. You either believe in the judicial system or you don't. You're saying, I believe in the judicial system, but I think this process has been compromised. Okay. A lot of people feel that way. And again, think about how many relatives you have who've been in jail before and they felt the system gave them an unfair shake. Some of them are still languishing in jail. Some of them are innocent and they have no recourse because they can't afford it. Nobody can a lot of people can just pick up the phone and call daddy, say, get me out of here. And this is Joe Biden, who I don't know if you remember when he, and I should pull that up, when he had his speech over the crime bill. He didn't have many excuses, or he didn't have a tolerance for excuses because people came from a certain background.
We must make the streets safer. I don't care why someone is a malfactor in society. I don't care why someone is antisocial. I don't care why they become a sociopath. We have an obligation to cordon them off from the rest of society, try to help them, try to change their behavior. That's why we do in this bill. We have drug treatment and we have other treatments to try to deal with it. But they are in jail, away from my mother, your husband, our families. But we would be absolutely stupid as a society if we didn't recognize the condition that nurtured those folks still exist. And we must deal with that.
Everybody has all these great solutions when it's not their kid. Then when it's their kid, they say, I hope the public can understand. And to me, that statement and anything that he says afterwards, it reminds me of when you watch the news, the evening news, and someone murders another person, like might be a 17 or 18-year-old or a 23-year-old or 40-year-old murders someone, and then their mother comes on the screen and says, not my good son, my boy is a good boy. And we go, oh, here we go. Your boy is a good boy. He's a good son, but he did this crime. And that's what I see here today with Joe Biden. And there's a human side of me. I do feel for him as a father, because I do think if you really truly asked a lot of people, not all of them, a lot of people would say, I would do the same thing for my kid. But let's not forget that there are a lot of people who would say, I will not do that for my child. I would not. My child did a crime, and these are the consequences of the crime. Then that's what has to happen. He has killed his party in one fell swoop, in my estimation. And I know that many of them are like, just get out, just go. It's amazing to see all the things that are coming out as a result of this lost election, how people are acting. This is, to me, the height of hypocrisy. He lied. And nepotism and nothing more is the reason why he decided to pardon his son. It's his kid. Not many of us, you or me, have the luxury of phoning up daddy to say, get me out of this. Crimes that we know of and crimes that we might not know of. Gone in a signature. I think he has said, to hell with my legacy. At the end of the day, it's about my kid. Legacy doesn't trump my family. I want to read a few comments from you guys, because I asked you all to weigh in on the conversation as well in my community page. And so let me just read a few. Jennifer W5735 says, quote, I'm sick of this administration. I think that's a sentiment a lot of people have right now, because and like I said, this ain't just people who aren't Democrats. There are people in the Democratic Party who are sick of this administration. They're just ready for them to go. Chelsea Lynn Thibodeau, I think that's how you pronounce your name, says, if it were just for the tax and firearm crime he was recently convicted of, then it is what it is. But the pardoning him of any crimes he has committed in the last decade, that's ridiculous. I'm 100% in agreement with that. Because like I said, Biden made a good point about people when, if they didn't pay their taxes, but they end up paying their taxes, they pay all the penalties and fees. Okay, then they move on with their lives. But for all crimes that you could have committed in the last decade, woo, that's sweeping absolution. Reese ND77 says, did anyone figure out where the white powder in the White House came from? Girl, I think you're a girl. I don't know. And that's the same question I have. But people are going to point to Hunter Biden now. I don't know if it's necessarily Hunter, to be honest with you. I think it could have been some staffer inside the White House, and you just never know. Who knows? Who knows? The answer is who knows. D123-F9K says, I'm not saying he should have pardoned him, but I understand. It's not right, but if I'm on a rapid mental decline with at most a few good years left, and I've lost one son already, I don't want to spend my last few years with the remaining one visiting federal prison, especially if I can just go retire and never leave my nice cushy house or go on TV or the internet to hear people whine about it. It's not right, but I get it. And that's a sentiment a lot of people have as well. And that's a good point. I think Joe Biden knows he is mentally going down. He's like, while I have some faculties, let me help my kid out. It's the lying that's got to a lot of people. And it's the fact that, I'm not comparing him to any other politician like Trump or anybody else, because at the end of the day, Trump and the rest of those folks, they got money, power, privilege. We don't. So I'm thinking about, the family members here who are watching this program, who they have to take themselves down to a federal prison or some other jail or whatever to see their relatives. They don't get to just get pardoned over the weekend. How beautiful would that be? Black Bet 07 says, no, I am not surprised. It actually doesn't bother me that Biden did that. What bothers me is that he kept lying about it. And I am with you on that. I feel like if he had just been open about the fact that it was a possibility and that it was on the table, I think people would have take your whippings early. You feel me? Take your verbal abuse from your critics, your political opponents early. Yeah, be mad. Yeah, who mad? Stay mad. Who cares? It's my kid. I'm not going to take it off the table because I see the play here. But to have, like I say, this moral high ground, like, no, I believe in the rule of law. And then you just get so clearly you don't believe in the rule of law. Someone says, what's this? I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on. I'm so sorry. I almost say Sharkasia. As a mother who loves her children to the ends of the earth, nope. I think she's saying, I love my kids, but I'm not going to do that. I feel the same way. One of the things my mother always said is, do not bring embarrassment to my doorstep. Some of you have watched my channel. You've heard my video. I did a video several months ago where I talked about spanking and stuff. And I said like how my mother really didn't believe in spanking, but it was never off the table. Like she didn't play with us. We knew she would spank us in a heartbeat, right? But my mother always said, and I mean repeatedly, I ain't coming to no jail to see no one. So if y'all want to go out there and commit crimes, don't expect me to come to Fox Hill Prison to bring you no plate of food on no Sunday. I don't do prisons. We had relatives who were in jail. My mother would not go, honey. She mean that. The only way I could see my mother coming is if she knows for 100%, if she's 100% sure that we didn't commit a crime, I think she would come to jail. But if we did it, child, you on your own like Pat Bone. Azure Witch says, the more a party or someone says, I do it for the people, they actually do it for themselves. Rules for thee, not for me. Yeah. We're all supposed to be equal. And it's sad that people are realizing, that many of you have already realized that no, there's no equality here. Rules for thee and not for me. All right. Making America look like a joke again and again. Yeah, this is embarrassing. Lies upon lies upon lies. Charmaine Williams 7833 says, thank you, Biden, for pardoning your son. Good job. How many criminals did Trump pardon? I know his son-in-law's father, he pardoned. And I thought that was really a dumb move for him to appoint him as the ambassador to France, was it? I wouldn't have done that. I think that was a horrible move. I wasn't going to be... I know he wants loyal people around him, but Optics, man, optics. As far as I'm concerned, 2 wrongs don't make a right. But thank you, Charmaine. I appreciate the feedback. Trump would have done it too. Better start doing it like the other side. Trump is having all his family in the government, his kids, his 2 daughters, fathers-in-law, etc. Oh, his 2 daughters, fathers-in-law, pardon me. And you can rest assured that he will protect them at all costs. Yep. And as you know, the Democrats said they feel as well that Joe Biden's decision to pardon his son will definitely open the door for Donald Trump to pardon these insurrectionists who took part in January 6, 2021's insurrection on the U.S. Capitol, which Donald Trump keeps calling these people hostages. They ain't no damn hostage. They committed a crime. This next person said, good for him. Who's going to check him, boo? Woo, child, thank you so much, you guys, for weighing in. I really appreciate your feedback there. Anyway, drop your comments down below. Let me know how you feel about this entire story, how you feel about Joe Biden's decision to provide absolution to his son. There's definitely a trust deficit for me, and it's really sad. And I know a lot of Democrats are really just waiting for Joe Biden to get the heck out of the White House. And guess what? Joe Biden probably is like, I cannot wait to get out of here too. And I think this is definitely going to affect his legacy. I don't think it's going to be a footnote in history. I think when the book is opened up, like that's going to be right front and center. But legacy, my kids. For a lot of people, the kids trump the legacy. By the way, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Share this with family members and friends. If you enjoy my channel and you love my content, subscribe to the channel. If you want to contribute, please buy me a coffee. You're going to see the link down below, or you can go in the description box and you'll see the various ways that you can contribute to the channel. You can also become a member. And thank you to all of my members for your support over the years. Now I can say the years. Thank you so much for your support. And I will see you all in my next video.
We did it, Joe.